As one of the only locally owned businesses in Albuquerque, Gala Chevrolet understands the importance of giving back to our community. And you'll feel good knowing the money you spend here helps make this a better place to live. Support the dealership that supports Albuquerque, the all-new Gala Chevrolet.
When I train for American Ninja Warrior, I schedule regular workouts to stay in shape. To keep my car in Ninja Tough shape, I head to a Napa Auto Care Center for regular maintenance and genuine Napa Auto parts, like brakes and batteries. I trust my Napa Auto Care Center for quality parts and quality service. And with the 24-month, 24,000-mile nationwide warranty, I drive away with peace of mind every time. Visit AutoCareNM.com to find a location near you.
Dreamstyle Remodeling has been wowing homeowners in New Mexico since 1989. Selected as Best Custom Home Remodeler for 3 consecutive years by readers of the Albuquerque Journal, we're also your exclusive provider for top home improvement brands like Renewal by Anderson, Four Seasons, Blaze King, and many others. Founded and headquartered in Albuquerque, Dreamstyle Remodeling is family-owned and now employs more than 500 people across the southwestern U.S. In fact, we've helped more than 60,000 homeowners improve their home in New Mexico, Arizona, California, Idaho, and West Texas. We're committed to providing a superior customer experience. We've earned 4.6 stars with hundreds of online reviews and have an A+ with the BBB. Dreamstyle Remodeling is a proud supporter of UNM Athletics. Visit our beautiful 10,000 square foot showroom at 1460 Renaissance Boulevard across from Sam's Club, or DreamstyleRemodeling.com to make your home remodeling dreams come true.
Nothing completes a trip downtown like a visit to Lindy's Cafe. You won't find a more relaxing restaurant to unwind at. Located on 5th and Central, proud supporters of Proview Networks, Lindy's strives to be a friendly and welcoming place.
Lindy's, a great place to be seen.
Car Crafters, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Are you sure we're supposed to be doing this?
Don't worry, I've watched him do it 1,000 times. Come on, what's the worst that can happen?
No! Bad dog!
Hi, welcome to Car Crafters. What happened? Don't worry, we'll make it like it never happened.
Car Crafters, it's like it never happened.
The Sports Desk is proudly presented by Car Crafters. It's like it never happened.
And welcome everybody to the Sports Desk. I'm Scott Coletti, joined by Ed Nunez. Our director is Alden Iowani. We're going to talk a lot of sports, a lot of ways we're going to go here today. But starting off, the high school season has officially come to an end. Jordan Bird made a lot of noise both in town and a little bit nationally, actually, with his performance at the track and field state championships. And then you got the baseball and softball. One, no surprise in 6A. One, perhaps a very big surprise in softball in 6A. We'll talk a little bit about that, but we bring in Ed Nunez. And Ed, first off, hard to believe that the season is officially over.
Well, you know, we always say
high
this.
School-wise, that is.
Right. We always say this in August, that it's going to be a quick football season. It seems like it is. Then we go to basketball, baseball, softball. You know, we do New Mexico cheer wrestling. First 24/7 sports channel covers quite a bit of events. You know, and I saw the guys this morning outside, and I think about all the hard work that they do, Alden Iowani, Jason Pohl, Josh Brown. You know, those guys really do a fabulous, phenomenal job, and they're just great people to be around. Every time I see them, man, it's, you know, and I always say my brothers, and they really are. You know, we joke about that every time I see them, but I think about just the work that they do all season long. to keep the station, afloat and going. And the guys behind the scenes, sometimes you don't get to see them, but we do, and that's good. But I tell you one thing, you mentioned La Cueva in baseball. That's their 10th state championship. Joe O'Neill actually had that question on True or False Tuesdays on ESPN Radio yesterday. And that's their 10th championship. Gerard Pineda, what a great job. He coached his son. Mike Magaha from Piedra Vista coached his son. There's a lot of storylines around state baseball, state softball. I know you'll get into all of it. But gosh, I think that's why I love what we do so much. I got to do some PA for the NMAA out at Rio Rancho on Wednesday and Thursday, and I got to do it with Phil Schreier, he's keeping score. Phil Schreier, the former Cibola coach and athletic director, who's from Muncie, Indiana. I'd love to get Phil on the show. He's part of that New Mexico Highlands baseball team that won it all back in the late 60s. So you'd love Phil. Phil has a lot of great history. So me and him were talking the whole time, and I have to stop distracting him because he's got to do the pitch count. But me and him are laughing about mutual people that we know. We're laughing with them, so they're like, Ed, leave Phil alone because he's got to get, it's just kind of hard to do that when you're with somebody that you know and you really like. Because, you're sitting back there and joking. So, the PA that I got to do, I love to see kids compete at an amateur level, Scott. I love it because they're not getting paid, and you know what? They'll remember. That's why even the introductions for me were important. I want to make sure they're not thinking about me, but I want to make sure it's done with a little bit of flair. Hey, when you go out there and try starting in right field, it's important to me. It's important to them. So I had a great time as usual with what we do with high school sports, and I know with Adam Deal and Steve working hard behind the scenes, there's going to be more to come.
Well, the whole thing about it is, Ed, and I know you take the same approach. It's about the kids. It's about the players. No matter what level you're on, it's not about us. We're kind of the conduit, but it's about what's happening on the field.
You know what, Scott? You've seen it. You've seen a million high school games. You've seen a million college games. And I've seen it, as a referee, too. There's been games as an official that I'd walk off the court when kids lost. I was thinking to myself, gosh darn, man, that is tough. That's tough. I would feel so bad for that team that lost. They should have won. They should have won. What would they call it? The breaks of the game. Right. Jim McKay said it. Thrill of victory, agony of defeat. And there was actual times I'd walk off like, go into the locker room, changing, and I'd think to myself, I'd sit there for about 20 minutes just so bummed out for that team that lost. And that's the breaks. But you mentioned it always is about that's why I love what we do, because it is about the kids, always about them. And then later we see them, and some guy recognized my voice. I'm sure they do that with you too. Some guy says, hey, you're that guy from Proview Networks. Hey, yeah, I am. But it's more about what you do and how, what's your accomplishments and how they do. I get so goosebumps sometimes when kids win championships and they celebrate and they go out there, and I'm thinking all the season long, soccer, whatever it is, doesn't matter, it's volleyball. History. They go out there and they celebrate, and it's a season long worth of injuries, things that you didn't expect. To win one championship is difficult, very difficult. So when you see these kids celebrating with that blue trophy, I couldn't be more thrilled for them. I really couldn't.
Take a look at what did happen. We'll go over softball first. A 1-3A championship. It was Dexter over Loving. 4-1 was the championship score. No if game there. It was number 1 Silver over number 2 Bernalillo. 13-1. Another big season for Bernalillo. You
know what? Both in baseball and softball. Hadn't been to a championship in 50-some years.
And basketball.
Right. They got to the championship there. They're known for their basketball. Baseball, not so much. Tell you what, they lose the hope in the 4A baseball championship, but they put together a pretty darn solid team. I got the chance to do PA when they were playing, and they were really good hitting, fielding, took the extra base. A lot about execution. They did a great job this year.
5A and 6A, there were if games necessary, so you had Farmington over Aztec in a winner's bracket 5-2. Farmington went on to play number 1 Artesia. Lost 13-2. Artesia would win 13-0 in the if game. So Artesia is your 5A championship. Congratulations to them. And in 6A, kind of a surprise to me, but this is a very good program overall. But just the way that they kind of came out of nowhere to win this thing is Volcano Vista beating Las Cruces 8-4, and then they lose the next 2 games to the Lady Bulldogs, 8-6 and 12-2. Las Cruces is your 6A champion.
Well, a lot of controversy around that game. I read the article in the Journal twice, and Brooke Ledger, the Volcano Vista pitcher, was called for illegal pitches. And I'm not going to comment on what it was or wasn't, but it was just a lot of things that they said that the Brooke Ledger had been doing that all year long, and And some of the umpires felt like it was an illegal pitch. They called it, and that's the way the game ended. Give Las Cruces a lot of credit. I saw Volcano Vista earlier against Cleveland about a month ago, and what an aggressive. You know what? They're that kind of team. If they'll take the extra base, they're going to make you make the throw, the perfect throw. If you don't make the relay and make the throw, they're taking another base. And you know what? They just had this swagger about them. They came out on the field. They have the chip on their shoulder. I mean, it's confidence. It's a little bit of cockiness. I love that team. I love the way they play. So they lose in the championship. That's too bad. But give Las Cruces, the Bulldogs, a lot of credit.
Right. So congratulations once again to Las Cruces. Baseball in A2A, it was Mora defeating Mesilla Valley Christian School, who was the number 1 seed. 12-2 was the final score there. Then it was Texaco, the number 1 seed. We'll look at some of the highlights here. So there was the game winner, and you see the gloves flying, and what a great moment. You have the dog pile. That's a tradition, and fun time.
You know what?
And it was a nice park.
That's right. So you know what? Imagine you getting to play at the best park in the state of New Mexico, and arguably maybe in the region here. It's a great park. So imagine that. Look how happy they are, and that's what I mean. And for years later, the 10-year reunion, the 20-year, the 30-year, they can always have those memories. Look at that side armor there. It looks like Dan Quisenberry or Kent Sokolvy there. And I think that's Mora. Is that Mora? I'm not sure. They got the green uniforms. Mora's usually green. No, that's Farmington. That's Farmington.
Yeah, so Farmington, well, it was Texaco over Estancia 5-0 in 3A. In 4A, it was Hope over Bernalillo 3-0. And then Farmington beating Goddard, who was last year's champion, 5-3.
That's Farmington there, I think.
The Scorpions, I believe. There. And then La Cueva over Piedra Vista 14-3. And Piedra Vista, what a good run they had. They're kind of the little engine that could, I guess, from a smaller town up in Farmington. Going up against the big boys in 6A, and La Cueva, they were just a juggernaut this year.
You seem to be almost like every year. Here's La Cueva and Piedra Vista right here, Scott. La Cueva wearing the Goddard blue, they said, and they brought them good luck. The jerseys that they wore, and you always hope, Scott, that nobody gets at the bottom of that dog pile gets hurt, because that's a massive dog pile right there. It really is.
Yeah, but the uniform, I would have never known that was La Cueva until you mentioned
no,
that.
I read that in the paper. Yeah, because it doesn't look like La Cueva. La Cueva's got the navy blue usually. So they wore said it brought them luck, and there's La Cueva hoisting their 10th blue trophy.
Yeah, so congratulations go out to La Cueva. And, Gerard Pineda, you mentioned him, great coach. Mike Magaha, he's won lower level championships, and a lot of them. And like you said, his son played, and I had a chance to see his son a few times also. Very good player, so that's got to be a thrill. And same thing for Coach Pineda with his son playing. Jack
Pineda played his last game for his
very
father.
Very good player.
I had a chance to coach my son a little bit in AAU, and oh man, you got to tell you, they bring out the best and the worst because you want to be harder on them than you are on anyone else. Right. But you love it. I love my son when he played. I loved it when he played for me. So I'm sure that there's some sentiment there. And you went out with the championship, like Bo Coleman went out with the championship with Joe Coleman at Valley. And I remember when I watched that in the pit or Dreamstyle Arena, I was so happy for Coach Coleman because, I remember, this is a total off the side story, but Bo Coleman got a technical one game I was officiating, and I remember Joe brought him to the bench, and he let Bo Coleman have it, and you could hear him throughout the whole gym. So to culminate that in the championship doesn't get any better, and I'm sure Coach Pineda, he'd be a great guest to have, Scott. Maybe we can get him in the next. I mean, it's the 10th championship. Right. He hasn't won them all. But one thing that Phil Schreier, the ex-Cibola athletic director, had told me, he had tried to get Gerard Pineda at Cibola. And then Coach McKeever had to leave La Cueva, and La Cueva acted, and it turned out to be a pretty good deal for La Cueva High School.
Yeah, absolutely. So, baseball, softball over. How about Jordan Bird?
You know what I was thinking about when you and I had him here, when he won the 100-yard dash as a freshman. I still remember him sitting right there. And I thought,
hard
wow.
to believe that was the first time we had him when he was a freshman, and now he's graduated already.
And think about it, how his body's developed. What a classy young man. He was on a commercial with Jay Pole. That commercial still has me cracking up. You know, when he came in with the coffee, and great job, Bird, Jay Pole said. So, you know, and look at him now. He's a senior going to San Diego State. He won, you know, and plus he's a great athlete, but he's a better person. I don't see a lot. You know, he's going to be somewhat cocky. He's going to go to D1 and play there. But I see a very reserved, professional, accommodating, respectful young man. That's what I see.
Well, he's got a good family base, too, and that is a big part of it.
Oh, no doubt about it. Every time I've talked to him, yes, sir, no, sir. And, you know, we saw him play football for Manzano, and I think he could have pulled that ball down and run for a lot more yards than he did. And very unselfish.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. We'll take a break. Come back. We have a lot more here on the program, and we will get it going here after the Dream Style Top 10 Plays of the Week.
That's driven, that's deep, that's gone. That's a two-run bomb turned in by Gabby Gomez. Second. Gotta give them a lot of gas lifted in the air to right field. That's drifting, and gone. That one. Drifting, the wind caught that baby and just kept it going. And finger comes up.
Well, this one is
that's
hammered out
over
to
his
left
head,
field.
yeah.
That's gone!
It's a home run.
A two-run shot for Austin Slagle. And La Cueva out in front 3-1. First homer in Isotope Park.
That's pulled well in to right, and it's gone! First inning homer for Martinez. Oh my God, that was wow. Who would have thought of that, huh? The Falcon.
They're very look at this. Schlegel gonna hand it off to Pineda. Off the bag. No, the tag is there. Out!
Season one. Driven deep to center. Back, going back. Gone! Gomez on the three-run bomb to straightaway center field. And you said it. Explosive. Corner remain up. That's driven up the middle for another base hit. They're going to wave him around from second. Here comes the throw. Got him!
Boy, that one heavily out to left field, getting underneath it. Ramos makes the play, the grab, and it's over. The 2018 state champs. It's the La Cueva Bears, their 10th in school history. And what a play to seal it up. We'll talk with your dad now. The big hug. That's priceless right there.
It is Bird who got a good jump off there. But right next to Bird, though, is Volcano's Alejandro. This could be Bird. Taking it easy.
It's a clean start. Jordan Bird there already in front with a white headband. It's not even close, ladies and gentlemen. This kid is something special. And Bird with a 10.58. He just missed it. Jordan Bird already blowing everyone out of the water.
And we're back here on the Sports Desk. I'm Scott Gallotti along with Ed Nunez, Alden Iowani, the crew here, Jason Pohl, Josh Brown. They're all backstage doing a great job as always. And Ed, going to have an opportunity to talk a little Lobos. Not necessarily Lobo baseball, Lobo basketball, Lobo football, just Lobos because of everything that's going on. You and I really haven't had a chance with your schedule to talk over what's going on with the sports being, well, we hope not, but there's going to be sports that are on the table to be dropped. And it's kind of a hot button conversation. You know, everyone's waiting for when it does happen. July 1st is the deadline, I guess, when they're supposed to announce it. And then each sport that's going to get dropped, to add salt to the wound, they will play one more year before being dropped. So it's kind of a bad situation at UNM. And, you know, it brings up questions. You look at the message boards and everything else, and you wonder how they got to this point. And you know, some people say mismanagement. Some people say, oh, this A, B, C sport doesn't draw revenue. They don't have fans. Cross country doesn't have a fan base. Golf doesn't have a fan base. You know, I've heard every argument, pros and cons. But then on the same side, you hear, you know, cross country has a national champion. How are you going to cut that? Skiing has won a national championship. How are you going to cut that? They tried cutting it, and then all of a sudden there was an outcry, and they got public funding, which brought up on the investigation. It was kind of weird when they had the audit, and no one talks about this, found out that money that was relegated for the ski team went somewhere else. I think it was the women's basketball team. No one brings that up because that just happened, and it also goes back to the accountability, which I think everyone that I've talked to, there's a mistrust now for UNM, and it's sad. You know, you and I, you're a big fan. I worked there for 5 years. It's sad.
You know what? It is. And I guess, like I said, you know, Garrett Stokes, the UNM president, has a lot of decisions to make. You know, when we said this about Eddie Nunez, the athletic director, you know, he came in here about 2 months ago, and I think that grace period is over.
Right.
Eddie has things he has to do. And here's the other thing. The mistrust, gosh, when you talk about that, and I was thinking about what you said, if you got your sport cut and you still play a year, where's the motivation to train? Where's the motivation to win? You know, and they're athletes, and I still think they'll find it from within. But when I think about that, I think, wow, if you get that call July 2nd, because they do it July 1st, I'm sure everyone's going to, you know, be right there or try to be there. And then you hear that, it's like, man, I know as an athlete, I played basketball and, you know, not at the college level, but your motivation is to be like, oh gosh,
right.
It drains all the it drains all the wind out of you, I think. But the other thing, a lot of things have been proposed. You know, you've heard some of the things. One of the things I read in the paper, and you know, I read Sports Speak Up, and one of the things that was proposed, and this gentleman said this: look, football is a big drain. You know, we're spending this; it's not bringing that. It's not done it for, what, 40 years. And like I told you, I've been a fan since Rudy Feldman, Bill Mott. I told you, all the coaches I've seen since 1970, I've been an avid fan of Lobo football. Even when I went to Eastern New Mexico for 2 years, I'm still a Lobo fan.
Right.
So, you know, again, that was talked about. Klaus Weber and the soccer program, you know, he made his case. But I think Will Weber, when he was on here, they have like 21 programs, sports programs. Yeah. And so something obviously has to give. They're not going to cut football. There's no way. So people that have proposed that, no, that's not happening, at least right now. Now, you know, it might be 5 to 10 years down the way before that's even discussed. And so I think you're right. It's at a very, you know, unsure time for a lot of people because Coach Weir in the paper today making his appeal for Lobo fans to come and buy tickets, and this is early, you know, that we've heard this.
Yeah, we'll delve into that a little later too, because that's a whole segment At
in
least
itself.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about that.
But I think, you know what, Scott, I think it's emotional. Of course it's emotional, man. But I think one of the things that I'll say about Paul Krebs, the GPA amongst these programs was pretty high.
Very high.
So you got to give him credit there. That's what it's about. We're talking about.
Not pretty high, very high.
Yeah, so you know what? I give him credit there with all the coaches and the athletes. It's student-athlete first, not athlete-student.
Right.
None of these players, most of them, some of them will go pro. There's talking about the punter for Borquez signed with the Patriots, I believe. So he might have a look. Sanders got drafted, the kicker. He got drafted. But let's look at it like this. I've always said this even when I coached AAU, high school. None of the basketball players that I knew were going pro. I mean, A.J. Bramlett went and played for Cleveland. Kenny Thomas, who's from El Paso, played for the Rockets, although he did play at Albuquerque High. It's not a hotbed of pro sports here, let's be honest. I mean, Bregman, he went to the pros and is doing really, really well. But it's not like we're going to get a lot of pro athletes out of these programs. But it's still, gosh, man, when you hear that your program it might get cut, it's just man, I just feel bad for all the athletes at UNM right now because there's, I don't think football, baseball, and basketball have to worry, but the rest of them, women's softball, because of Title IX implications, I would think is safe, but there's these other programs that around the way that have to worry.
Now here's what we're going to do right here. I want to delve into something that a lot of people maybe don't talk about in the media. And anyone from the UNM, we've had Eddie Nunez on. We greatly invite him to come back to tell his side. We'll have anyone here on the program. Paul Weir, we'd love to have him back to talk about things. Coach Fishbein for the soccer. But here's a question I have for you, Ed, because you're a longtime Lobo fan. What does football bring to the table? No, I'm not advocating dropping football, but I mean, I've been a part of bigger programs, smaller programs, different programs, broadcasts on a national base. I've seen what bigger schools bring to the table, smaller schools. The reason why I'm asking is because the biggest argument that people are saying that I hear, well, without football, you can't be in the Mountain West. Well, the Mountain West 5 years ago when they were getting 4 or 5 teams in the NCAA tournament, well, that's one thing. Now it's a one-bid league, basically. If you don't have an upset last year, Nevada would have been the only team that went. It would have been a one-bid league. Guess what? I was part of a conference that was exactly like that, the Big West. One year they got 4 teams. That was back when New Mexico State was back in the league. It was UNLV, New Mexico State, Long Beach State, and Santa Barbara went. They haven't had multiple teams since, and that was in the 90s. So this conference, I say, the Mountain West is more the Big West than it is the Big East. So that's why I'm asking the question. What's the big, you get the TV revenue, but the Mountain West is talking about having games all streaming, which you're not going to get revenue.
I think that that's a fair question. I don't think there's any doubt that it's a fair question. Mike Vitale on 610 AM will always talk about body bag games. The Lobos will get this money at Wisconsin.
Coaches will never do that unless they're mandated.
Right.
To.
So,
because they know it will be a major strain on their team. You could lose your quarterback for the season because a bigger, stronger linebacker hit the daylights out of them.
No, that's true. Because you're looking at bigger, stronger, better programs, better athletes. You're drawing from a different recruiting pool. And I'm going to say this, that okay, so going back to the years, when Marv Levy was here, they had some good years. That's before Marv Levy, and he coached Don Perkins here and Chuck Roberts and some good players here. And then you had Rudy Feldman, Bill Mott, Joe Morrison. You've had some success, and I get what you're saying. It hasn't been. The one thing that the program's been is consistently inconsistent as far as winning.
I'm not even talking football success. I'm talking the biggest success is basketball. And everyone's saying, well, if you drop football, you drop the Mountain West. And I'm saying, why? What's the big deal? Because the Mountain West is not that good anymore.
I think you're not wrong about that. I just think
it's not as strong anymore. Let's put it that way.
I think that one of the things that I think people perceive maybe the Lobos being a powerhouse when they're really not, and they're thinking, well, if we do drop football, even though it's not a great program, we won't be perceived as a big player, even though you just made a good point about the Mountain West. You did, and it's, it doesn't. Nobody wants to hear that, right? But it's the truth. You know, you're right about Nevada. Nevada was obviously a very, very good team. They belonged in. They showed that in the tournament, but I can't argue that. A couple years ago, they're getting 3-4 teams, and I mean solid teams, and now there's people that just want to hang on to that football part, and if you bring it up, you're going to get a lot of emotional reaction. I get that.
Right. But is the Mountain West bigger than Conference USA now?
I would probably say no.
And which is sad, because 5 years ago, or even 4 or 3 years ago, I would have said heck yes. But now I don't think so. And you see one conference going like this and another conference going like this, and hey, so you're not in the Mountain West anymore. Try getting into a bigger, perceived bigger nationally conference, and then be a major player in that one.
Do you know what? I would think that all options are on the table. I don't think what you're saying is out of the realm of maybe possibilities.
Because here's the weirdest thing. When I first started at UNM, Boise State wasn't in the conference. Nevada wasn't in the conference. Guess what? Boise State, even though, I don't know if you realize this, since they've been in the conference, they have not won a Mountain West championship.
No, I didn't.
You knew that.
No, I didn't.
Have not won a Mountain West championship in the regular season, and unless I did this year and I missed it. But and then you got Nevada. Nevada the last couple of years have been a powerhouse in basketball, and even Boise State, and they weren't in the conference. So WAC teams are dominating the conference.
Interesting point. Yeah, very interesting point. So yeah, no, I think what you said though, because what they've been doing hasn't been working. They're at Waterloo now. They have to maybe try other things. You mentioned some of the things that were mentioned about bringing people to the football stadium, which, I think one of the things that I'd said to you a couple of weeks ago, I want to see what the marketing strategy that's different.
Right.
Why should we go to the football game? You mentioned one of the things, and Will Weber said it too, was the schedule doesn't exactly lend itself to like, oh wow, Incarnate.
Right.
And Will brought up that point over and over again.
Then I realized, talking with Bob Brown, that Liberty actually beat Baylor last year. So who's to say that Liberty doesn't come in a favorite?
I think the other thing is this, is that Lobo fans.
That would sour the heck out of fans here.
I'd see, me and you will talk about that. We always say after one loss, I'd say I gave it grace.
I didn't even know Liberty had a football program, to be honest with you. And then they beat Baylor last year. Baylor was bad, but Baylor shouldn't be losing to Liberty.
No,
so that tells me that Liberty is good, and if you're a Lobo fan, hope that they don't have their team coming back.
Problem is, and I would say this, that fans here haven't been as invested with the football program as they are with the basketball. And you and I said
never understood that.
Yeah, well, you've seen it. You've seen it yourself.
Yeah, well, it deflated Rocky Long to where one time he, jokingly said, oh, it was an evacuation of the stadium when they came out after halftime my first year, when they were leading Wyoming at halftime during a rainstorm, and there was maybe 50 people left in the stands because everyone left because it was a deluge. But that's where the re-entry comes into play. And I got to tell you, folks, one of the things that I'm realizing in my travels, even just with baseball, a lot of schools have no re-entry. It's not just UNM.
Right, of course.
There's a lot of schools that I've seen here in the last month or so that have no re-entry. They announce it over the loudspeakers. Oh, okay. So, a lot of people thought maybe that was just here. Not the case.
No, it's not. And you know what? For a program that's trying to raise as much revenue as they can, they really just can't give. They used to do that back in the day. You could leave and come back for free, and so I think the other thing is they want to avoid just the party celebration out in the parking lot, then come back, and they want to avoid that too. So there's other reasons.
Well, I think if you allowed it because of weather, that would be one thing.
Right.
And not allow it other times. I mean, to me, that would be kind of the middle ground. Hey, it starts pouring and there's no cover over the stadium. What are you going to do? Sit there and get soaked like some fans do? Or sit there and run to your car, try to keep dry for a little bit and then go back in.
Yeah, listen on the radio to see when you can come back in.
In that case, I would say, allow them to come back. Because I've seen cases like that where, if the weather, just like when they have weather delays and they evacuate the stadium for the Lightning, they allow you to come back then because they evacuate the stadium. They kind of treat it like an evacuation, make sure that you have a hand stamp and you go in.
Yeah, I would think so too.
We will take a break and talk a lot more here on the Sports Desk.
Carmody Medical provides solutions for your everyday needs. Hot and cold compression wraps provide therapeutic compression for the shoulder, hip, and knee. The therapy wraps are constructed of an insulated outer fabric and a ventilated cotton pocket to protect the body. Elastic belts allow mobility and deliver a gentle, adjustable compression. The reusable therapy packs can be removed from the pouch and placed into the freezer. Contact Jim for more information.
Get into the game with Garden Swartz Team Sales. They have everything you need, from screen printing, embroidery, and digital printing services, high school letterman jackets, and all high school and club uniforms and individual and team apparel with the most reliable brands like Speedline, Rollins, and Wilson. And don't forget to check out the latest F7 Shut helmet. It's all at Garden Swartz Team Sales. Give them a call, 505-884-1234. Garden Swartz Team Sales.
Folks, there's no other way but to be all in. Either he's Lord of all or he is not Lord at all. And you can experience the real and authentic, true life change that only God can provide to humanity. See, when we truly encounter Jesus and purpose to know him and follow his teachings, hashtag life change will occur.
Terry Cosper Insurance Agency is a proud partner with Proview Networks and a proud supporter of New Mexico high school athletics. Terry's been a local farmer's agent for over 20 years for auto, home, life, and business insurance. Just like high school sports are important, so are teen drivers. For more information, call Terry or one of his licensed staff members at 898-5556. Quotes are available for you. Gecko's Bar and Tapas, a proud supporter of Proview Networks. It's been a fan favorite spot for food lovers and sports fans. With not one, but two great locations, including outdoor patio, an atmosphere you won't want to miss. Gecko's, off Academy and in Nob Hill. Hey everyone, Adam Deal here with Proview Networks. Extreme Clean is a proud sponsor and supporter of Proview Networks and all high school sports athletics. Owner Mike McLean and Extreme Clean specialize in carpet cleaning for apartment, realty, business, and residential clients. With over 20 years experience, attention to detail and quality customer service matters. For more information, give them a call, 505-221-6440, Extreme Clean.
Sadie's is a proud supporter of New Mexico high school sports and athletics, and we here at Proview Networks would like to thank Sadie's for their continued support in helping us bring you all of your New Mexico high school sports coverage.
Don't forget, every Proview Network sporting event is on sale at our DVD store. Go to www.proviewNetworks.com to buy your DVD today.
Full House Real Estate. At Full House Real Estate, we handle everything from home sales to property management. With us, our team is your team. Give us a call today, 505-244-1918. At AC Prime, we cover cooling conversions to your plumbing needs. Locally owned and operated with hands-on owners. Call us today, 505-235-4904. AC Prime, our prime concern is you.
Scott Coletti back here on the sports desk along with Ed Nunez, Alden Iowani, our fine director, and we've been talking a mixed bag of things and been concentrating on UNM athletics. And Ed, when you look at what's been going on, it's kind of a war of teams. The big battle cry is not putting one sport against the other, but when you look at on the surface, it looks exactly that's what's going on. You got Jeremy Fishbein going up. And by the way, I almost forgot when you were talking about student athletes seeing this and, you know, thinking, well, do I really want to go to UNM? I heard, and it's not confirmed, but I heard that one of the recruits from Fishbein's team is already decommitted.
And you know what? You're going to see that happening because if it's an uncertainty about the program, it's almost as if.
And what happens if the soccer program is saved?
I know.
Then you lost kids.
I think those are, things you have to play out later, what ifs and buts. We've talked about that. But you can't blame these recruits either. It's almost as if a coach, is going to be rumored to be leaving. All these recruits are going to say, well, I'm not going to go there. If you're not going to be there, I'm not going. Even though sometimes guarantees don't even guarantee that, because their coaches are like, well, this offer came up, I can't turn it down, and the recruit is left hanging. That's not fair to them either. And you're going to see some of that, and I understand that. I get it. And so a lot of uncertainty about some sports, and I hate to see it. I really do, but they have to do something. As we mentioned, they're at Waterloo, and they just have to do something.
So now when you talk about what's been going on, Paul Weir had a press conference on Tuesday appealing to fans to buy season tickets. Earliest season ticket sales that they've had in recent memory, if not all time. And it's one of those situations, Eb, where everyone's saying the big push is football. Big push is football. Now you got on the radio stations, callers calling in saying, well, I'm not going to buy this, I'm going to buy this. And, it's one program against the other.
Well, it's hopefully we can get Coach Weir back on the program. We had him on about last March. Henry T had him on Saturday on the Henry T show, and I asked him, what did Coach Weir say? I wasn't able to listen. And, just very positive, trying to sell the program. And I didn't get a chance to read the whole article today, but I think that's what it's about right now. And everybody, again, with Coach Weir's program, I think you said this too, though. You're losing a couple of your scorers, and, a couple of guys transferred. You're bringing in some people expect already, because they had a good run. They had a good run, almost made it to the tournament, which they probably have been one and done. But still, it was this unexpected. Nobody would have expected that. Nobody expected them to finish 18-14, a good second half run. So I think a lot of people, as they always do with Lobo basketball, maybe the expectations are unrealistic. I know I've been part of that too, and I can already wait. I can hardly wait already, because we're saying this. You said it too. Carlton Braggs, Vance Jackson. Jaquan I can't remember his last name. Jaquan Lyle from Ohio State. There's a lot of transfers coming in that are supposedly going to make. He signed some more, and he's got one too many now. He's got one too many. Supposedly, Ja'Kai Simmons moved on. Simmons might move on. We haven't heard the last of who's moving and who's. They lost Fertstinger, and they lost Logwood, and they lost Antono Jackson. I thought of all those guys that they had, Antono Jackson might have been the most important, although Fertstinger, to me, was my most valuable Lobo. Because you looked at him, and what had he done in 3 years? It wasn't much, but all he did was give you everything he had every night, double. And you know what? The guy
was a Daniel Ferris, Ramon Martinez kind of guy, diving on the floor, going all over the place,
the charges,
giving everything that he has.
Put the work in the weight room. Do you see the muscles? Yes. Put the work in the weight room, man. You know what? So I've seen Lobo basketball for many years, and I thought they got again. So going back to Coach Weir, I think the approach that he has that was different from Craig Neal is he's personable. Craig Neal was not personable. I'm sorry. He might have been a great coach and a great player and a great scout back in the day. We hardly saw that. I'm sorry. We didn't see it. But he's got a whole different approach, and it works now. It works now. But you know how it is here. If you don't win and the expectations don't start going everyone's perceived way, then what? But I don't care. Right now, I'm looking forward to the next season, but I think him appealing already this early for buy the tickets, but I also want to see the marketing strategy. How are they going to sell it? How are they going to sell Lobo football? Football is one they can't afford to have, the way things are. They can't afford to have 15,000, and sometimes you'll tell me that's not even 15. They announce 15, but it's more like 7 or 8.
Well, here's the thing. Last year they averaged over 21,000. You know why? Because they had over 30,000 for the NMSU game, where there were a lot of NMSU fans.
I remember that game.
Just like when the Lobos go down there, there's probably more Lobo fans down at Aggie Memorial than there is New Mexico State fans. So it kind of goes the same way, because there's a massive alumni base of Aggies here in Albuquerque. So that game actually gets more Aggie fans than probably the home game for the Aggies does.
That's interesting, and you're right. Because I remember
that's been my experience.
I remember going to the game last year, which the Lobos lost, and hearing oh man, God, there was Aggie noise there. There's Aggie noise big time.
And you go down there. I think we were down there 3 times, and the 3 times I went down there, it was Lobo noise.
Right.
And that's all you heard.
So you've seen it both ways, and you know, it's going to, like I said, it's going to be interesting. The Lobo football team has a new offensive coordinator in Calvin McGee. They're going to spread it out a little bit more. They're moving away from the triple option. So I kind of want to see how they're going to, score some points. I'm interested in how the quarterback Tavaka Toyota develops in his second year.
Right.
I thought he could throw the ball really well. You know, there's some games and that Lamar Jordan finished and he finished. I think he's a better passer than he is a runner. So I'm interested to see. But the thing is he even going to be the starter, though? That's a question mark, because about what, 5 quarterbacks in camp?
Other recruits.
Blaine Gabbert is in camp.
And Toyota was kind of the last option in last year. So you wonder.
The passing guy.
Well, he's the passing guy, but
he got the guy from Tennessee coming in.
But he got into the game the first time around simply because everyone else was injured.
No, you're right.
And then he made a good showing and kind of rose up the ladder. But at first, he wasn't going to see the field.
Got 5 QBs in camp, maybe more. So You're right. The other thing is this. Let's just say they come out like gangbusters and they win. And, you know, does that consistently mean 25,000 to 30,000? What's the magic potion for them to get that again? And they had it at one time. They did. I remember being there for, I wasn't there, I should say. My brother and I were in Dallas watching the Dallas play the Redskins, but they had 38,000 against Rice, 44,000 against New Mexico State, 44. I still never forget that. So what's the magic potion to get these people? And you know what it is. It's winning, but are fans excited? Were they excited about the triple option? I don't know. I liked it. They won. I don't care how they won the games, but they want to see an exciting team. But I just haven't seen a consistent interest in Lobo football here since I've been watching.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, the year before, attendance was lower than before Rocky. Last year, I think it rose to about, still below Loxley level, because I think the lowest Loxley level was 23. But that's after 16 wins in 2 seasons. I mean, you don't wait to see your first loss to go to the games. That's where season tickets come in. Make a commitment to the team, make a commitment to the school, and I think that's what some of the diehard fans are saying, make a commitment. But I'm not saying make a commitment to one sport or the other, but if you're going to go, if you're just circling a game, then go to that game. But if you're a big-time fan, and if you can go to all the games, go to all the games.
No, yeah, I think you're right, and there are fans that do that. There's fans that.
There's a lot of fans that do that.
Right. There's fans that go to every single game, and I used to do that. I used to go to every single game, and I just haven't done it. Because if the game's on TV, I'm lazy. I stay at home.
Well, you just brought up the other problem. As we'll close this out here, you brought up the other problem: TV. It's too convenient. With it used to be, they're not on TV. We need the games on TV. Now they're on TV, so why go?
I've got, I'm in the comfort of my own house. I got the snacks right there. I mean, I don't know. So
got a cold one in your hand.
Right, that's right.
I mean, so it's just
Family's
too convenient.
There,
it's too convenient to stay home. So that's another issue that the smaller colleges for sure have to deal with. We'll take a break. One more segment here on the Sports Desk.
You're right.
Full House Real Estate. At Full House Real Estate, we handle everything from home sales to property management. With us, our team is your team. Give us a call today, 505-244-1918. At AC Prime, we cover cooling conversions to your plumbing needs. Locally owned and operated with hands-on owners. Call us today, 505-235-4904. AC Prime, our prime concern is you.
The Barley Room, a proud sponsor of Proview Networks for over 9 years, is pleased to introduce Black Iron Catering. From weddings and family reunions to birthdays and office parties, Black Iron Catering is perfect for any event. Contact Jamie at 505-459-8259 and book your event today. Black Iron Catering. Let us bring our kitchen to you.
Down and I was on my visit, I knew that it was the right place, and I felt it in my gut that it was the right place. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I know that the foul calls are going to be a lot better, and it's going to be fun to be able to use my full strength and play with bigger and better guys and just develop my game as much as possible. It feels great, but I just know from here on out it's the work I put in and to be able to develop and hopefully become a conference player that is going to be up to me. So from here on out, it's all my work and even more. Yes, it was very frustrating, and I know that at the end of the day, it's all of God's process, and He had a great plan for me, and I just trusted in Him, and that's why I'm able to be where I am now. It's such a relief. I'm so happy and honored to be able to be going to a D1 university and hopefully get the most I want out of it. I really enjoyed the coaching staff, I enjoyed the campus, and I enjoyed everything about it, and I feel like in these next years, the freshman to senior year, that we'll be able to do something pretty special. I had been on a couple visits before that, and I just knew something in my gut told me that it was a great decision to go, and I know that Coach Casper is going to have my back throughout the way, and it's going to be a very fun 4 years. I was looking at Southern Miss, and obviously UNM still considering that and those options, but those are the only 2 other 4 offers. It's been very difficult and hard and just a long process, and I think my mom and my family and my close friends back there for being right by my side through it all. And there's obviously a lot of decision changes. A lot of people expecting me to go to UNM, as did I, but everything happens for a reason, and I know it's all of God's plan. It feels amazing, Mr. Tate. It's just such a relief just to be able to have that clarity and know that I'm going to be going somewhere for sure, and not tell people, I don't know, or I don't know what's going to happen. Stretch 4. I'll be a stretch 4 down there.
And Marlon Cunningham from Albuquerque High signing with Texas State. Kind of a surprise, Ed, as originally he was going to be a Lobo, but maybe better playing time down in the future.
You know what? When Paul Weir came in and took over as Lobo coach, they kind of stepped back from that commitment. Craig Neal had made that commitment to Cunningham 2 years earlier.
Right.
So when Coach Weir came in, I didn't hear any hullabaloo around Cunningham at all. I didn't hear Coach Weir say anything. So I think Coach, it's nothing personal because Coach Weir has a different style of player that he's looking for. I'll say this, and you and I have mentioned this, and I talked to Coach Garcia about it, Coach Ron Garcia, the Albuquerque High head coach. He thinks he has a tremendous upside, and I think he does. But there was games this year that I saw that I thought the post positioning and getting position in the post needed work. For a kid his size, he's 6'8", 6'9", he can shoot the elbow jumper. I think he's going to be able to go out and stretch. He's going to grow. He's going to get bigger. He needs work on the base, though. He needs work, fundamental work. And congratulations, by the way, to Marlon Cunningham. And I think the best thing was I saw in the news is his teammates were with him, man. He shared that moment with them. Coach Tim McCorkle was right next to him, and Tim McCorkle's retiring as the principal at Albuquerque High. And I remember when Tim McCorkle was the head baseball coach at Highland. I love Tim McCorkle. Good guy. So I think a lot of things around the way there, but good for Marlon Cunningham. I think it's a good program for him to be at, and we'll see how things evolve in a couple years.
One of the things that you mentioned before the show, Ed, that you were thinking about talking about, let's talk real quickly here as we have a few minutes left on the show. NBA hoops.
You know what?
Anybody going to beat the Golden State Warriors?
I'm a huge Laker fan, but I've been watching the NBA since '72. I have an old register of NBA players in 1919 that I had when I was a kid. So, I looked at Golden State the other night, and Houston, right? They play a lot of similar styles, a lot of iso ball with Houston, a lot of isolation. Harden got 41, he got his, but the ball, they had a stat on NBA channel this morning. The ball didn't move a lot as they did. They showed how many passes Golden State made and how many Houston made, and it was far less for Houston than it was for Golden State. Harden. So if you're Golden State head coach Steve Kerr, you're going to say, what, get yours, man, go ahead. You can have that.
Right.
The problem that I looked at is defending Kevin Durant. Now, P.J. Tucker is a willing defender. He got in his body, that's the book, but all he does is just shoot all over. He just shoots over you. That's the problem. He gives up 4 inches.
Right.
So Durant, they say 6'11". With that wingspan, he's 7 foot. He's 7 foot. He can stretch the floor. Then, if you double team him, he's a willing passer, and you got snipers like Thompson and Curry. And the guy that I love, the guy that's my favorite Warrior, I'm a Laker fan, is Draymond. I love Draymond Green because Draymond doesn't back down to anybody. He sets a tone, and I could see, man, back in the day, him and Oakley going at it. Whew. So I'm an old-time NBA fan, but look, I don't see anybody beating them. I don't. This is a team here that in this modern era of the three-point shot, I don't know who could beat them. They'd always talk about old teams and the 96 Bulls and the 87 Lakers. Boy, that would have been tough because you had threes to beat twos. That's, Kareem, nobody stopped Kareem, right? But how do you stop these perimeter guys? And then Curry with the handles, he's going to pass off. He's going to get his. Not taking anything away from Houston. I think they're a fine team. I just don't think look at the season that they had. They got the home court advantage.
Right.
So they're just, no team is up to snuff with these Golden State Warriors.
And they lost it in one game. But here's the thing. You brought up Draymond Green. My favorite thing was last week when he was asked about the challenge of the Rockets. He said, "We're the champions, aren't we?" Right. And everyone thought of him as being cocky, but it was true. And some of the folks that I know were saying, "Oh, that game's going to be over by halftime." Well, it wasn't over by halftime. It was pretty much over after 3 quarters.
Well, let's see what they do tonight. The NBA's
I don't think it matters because I don't think they're going to win on Golden State's floor. So
here's the other thing. The NBA's about adjustments. So if you're Houston, you might want to. If you're Mike D'Antoni, you might think, let's double team him. Let's get the ball out of his hands. Problem with that is he's 6'11" and passes pretty well and can see, like Magic. Magic was 6'9". He doesn't have that kind of passing ability, but he's a good, willing passer. So if you do that and take the ball out of his hands, then let's make Steph beat us. Let's make Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson had 28 the other night. Steph had 18. So I might do that. I might have that strategy, but I think you're right. And you look at Ariza, you need more out of Ariza. He didn't have the best game scoring. They even brought out the mothballs off Ryan Anderson, and he didn't give you much. The problem is it's not scoring. You're going to score. It's defending those guys. And defending those guys where they spread the floor and pass the way they do, and they defend too. They defend. They did give Harden 41, but go ahead and have that. Go ahead.
Right.
And it was almost comical to me that Chris Paul's he's tough. I love that guy. And he was defending KD as hard as he could. And KD's just like, get off of me, Fly. Get off.
And here, the other series is going the direct opposite of what I thought. I thought after Cleveland beat Toronto, the #1 seed, by the way, that even though Boston had the home court, that they were going to beat Boston. So far, not even close.
Well, if you think about it, you got Gordon Hayward and Kyrie Irving out. Those two, the best players that the Boston has. And Hayward didn't play one game with Boston. Well, he played a half, and he got hurt. And Kyrie Irving had a heck of a season. But you look what you got. You got Rozier, you got Tatum, you've got Smart, Morris, Horford, Baines. You've got so many, and what they're doing is they're playing so well together.
Right.
And, people are already saying, well, you got to trade Hayward, you got to trade Irving. Hold on to that. Hold on. Yeah. But those guys, the thing that has amazed me, and I'm a Laker fan, so I hate Boston, but you got to give them credit. You got to give them credit.
We share a lot of those sentiments, actually.
Right.
Yeah.
The thing that's amazed me about them, Scott, throughout the postseason is they've hit the tough shots when they needed to. And you know what they did last night after LeBron took that little thing to the jaw? They outscored Cleveland 71-44. What does that tell you? And LeBron came with a 42 double. He had a triple-double. He came with an effort. The rest of the Cavs aren't as good as the rest of the Celtics, and that's what it boils down to.
No, I agree. You said something that really resonates. Boston, and you don't hear this in the NBA very often. Golden State, because they have a super team, you could say, they play as a team. And not as individuals.
No, they sure do. They're more than willing, like we mentioned. I think that's the thing that amazes me in this, and it's a different era now. It's a three-point era. It's a stretch the floor. Capella was negated the other night. Capella got one block, but he's negated. Right. You almost have to bring in another small guy because, I love Capella. He's had a great season. But you almost have to go, even small. How do you negate that? How do you battle that? Even if Boston gets there, they're a tough. They grind things out. They're almost like a blue-collar Celtics team of back in the 80s. Yeah. But how do you negate that, man? And you know what? People are saying, well, Golden State might win 2 or 3. It's boring. I love to watch them play.
Got a minute. Final thoughts.
You know what? Again, I can't believe that the baseball, softball, everything we've covered. It's summertime now or springtime. It's going to be summer, and pretty soon, before you know it, we'll be talking about football predictions.
2 days.
Yeah.
2
May,
days.
June, July, and just 2 months away. It's hard to believe that. It's hard to believe how time goes, but it's really unbelievable.
It really is, and we will talk to you next week once again. Ed and I will be back. We'll talk more sports here on the Sports Desk. Thanks to Alden Iowani, our fine director. Thanks for joining us here on Comcast Channel 26, Proview Networks.